Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. And so, Guru Maharaj, I assume we will be talking about Ram Leela today.
Yeah.
So, devotees, Guru Maharaj will be continuing talking about the Ram Katha. Welcome you all. So, we'll join. Guru Maharaj, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Umagyan Timidandasya Gyanajana Salakaya Achakshum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruvay Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutala Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Pastyatya De Satarine Vanchikopa Duribhascha Kuripa Sindhu Paevacha Hitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, in continuing with the theme of Ramayana, today I'll read a series of moral, religious, aesthetic values in the form of sutras or statements which pertain to some aspect of the Ramayana. But I want to, if we can do it, I'd like to make this particular presentation more interactive. And there's two ways we can do it, or we can do it in both ways simultaneously. And that is, I'll read a statement, and usually it's one line, and we'll open it up and see if you can connect it to a particular Leela in the Ramayana, or we can read the statement and we can also discuss the statement in relationship to a particular Leela, or particular personality within the Ramayana. It's more connected to personalities, but it's also Leela based also. These are a series, there's about maybe 60 or more statements. I don't know if we'll get a chance to go through all of them, but we can read some of them. And so I want you to be a little bit keen in thinking, where does this apply in the Ramayana? Who does it apply to? Or some of the, maybe an explanation of the statement that kind of expands the meaning of the statement. I can do that also, but we'll start off by presenting it in an interactive way. So these are values, moral statements, spiritual principles that we can learn from. And these are all connected to different aspects within the Ramayana, or different personalities also. So try to listen carefully, and everyone can participate. Just make a quick push your, they call it that yellow hand button there, and we'll see your yellow hand, and then you can speak something. So The teacher also has to see how much the student has learned after a while. The student doesn't learn anything, and he simply participates in a very uninterested way or less than interested way. And we get very little from what is being said. So this format may help to open up some ideas and help us to go deeper into the pastimes of the Ramayana. So I'm ready. I'll read different statements. The first one is, one cannot appreciate the beauty of things when one's lower nature prevails. I'll read it again. One cannot appreciate the beauty of things when one's lower nature prevails. That means not one's spiritual nature or even moral nature, those qualities that are in the lower modes, such as passion and ignorance. So, who or what particular part of the Ramayana does this pertain to?
Devotees, yes, Namrata Mataji, go on.
This is about sorry, Maharaj. Is this about talking about Kaikai?
Don't
Where-
guess. You just tell me.
Okay, so this is how I am relating is this is talking about Kaikai, who can when her lower modes are raising, so she cannot see the clear picture that how Ram as a king can benefit the entire kingdom more than Bharat. So
Yeah, you're actually right, but the influence that Kaikeyi received was coming from another person. So that other person seems to be more connected with this statement. And who is that?
Mantra.
Mantara, right. Mantara, she was, oh, you want to explain? Go ahead, and then I'll add more once you explain.
Okay, so Mantra was the maidservant of KK, and she was in the lower modes, and she was insecure about her position. So she tried to convince KK and and cover her consciousness.
Yeah, that's right. And she falsely concluded that if Kaushalya's son Ram takes the throne, then Kaikeyi would be marginalized or pushed out of her position as being the favorite queen of Dasarath, and therefore, since she was the maidservant of Kaikeyi, she would also be marginalized or pushed out. So, having enjoyed a very prominent position as being the maidservant of the favorite queen of Dasarath, now she was thinking, if this happens, then I'll be pushed out. So she couldn't understand that this having Ram on the throne would have benefited everyone. And what she concluded was completely wrong. So one cannot appreciate the beauty of something or some person when one's lower nature prevails. That's a good example. Any other example from the Ramayana that one can think of?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. I was thinking of Shurpankhar as she changed her form and she became very, a pretty lady in front of Ram and Lakshman. But when no one agreed to marry with her, she changed her form was changed, and her lower nature is in, jealousy, anger, and lust. Everything came out as soon as Lakshman is cut her nose off, and that's the point. Her lower nature of came out, and her beauty was all gone.
Yeah, when her desire was thwarted, her lower nature came out. She could have benefited by being in the association of such great personalities. And if she was in the mood of respect and reverence and service, she could have been elevated to a very high spiritual position just by appreciating, but she could not appreciate them. She simply tried to exploit them. Her lower nature prevailed. Yeah, that's a nice one. That adds to the whole source. Very good. Anyone else on that same point?
Guru Maharaj, Mother Sita, when Lakshman refused to go to Ram's rescue, she became very angry and upset, and she started accusing him of so many things which were untrue because she was overcome by her fear for Ram.
Yeah, playing the role of a conditioned soul, she entered into the illusion, and because being into the illusion, she could no longer appreciate the fact that Lakshman was her well-wisher and not her someone who she falsely concluded to be one that will exploit her. Another good example. Good. All right, we'll move on to the next one. That was very good. Real vision is more the property of the heart than the eyes. Real vision is more the property of the heart than the eyes. Anyone want to comment that just as a statement itself? You may look for something in the Ramayana, or you can just comment on that statement. Real vision is more the property of the heart than the eyes.
Devotees would like to give an example.
Example, or just describe, take apart that statement and describe it.
Yes, Sridevi Mataji, God.
When Lord Ram accepted the half-eaten berries of Shabari, he understood her heart, he understood her pure intent of just giving him the best. And Lakshman was thinking, what is this? Half-eaten berries, that to a woman, like that. But Lord Ram saw straight through her pure heart and accepted that half-eaten berry.
Yeah, really good. That's a nice, real good example. How Shabari, she was just an old lady in the forest, and she wasn't even acting according to proper behavior. She was eating, tasting berries and giving it. But Ram understood her heart, and therefore he was using the perfect vision. What's another example when Ram was also in that same mood, but some of his associates were not in that same mood? What's the example?
Yeah, Sridevi Mataji.
Vibhishan, when Vibhishan came and surrendered to Ram, everybody around was, what is this? This is an Ashura. He's come from the enemy camp. He's come to spy on us, this thing, that thing. But Lord Ram saw clearly that this person has come to surrender because he is a true follower of Dharma. He's a devotee of mine, like that.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, right. Thank you very much. Okay, good. We got some really good responses so far. Next one.
Sorry, Guru Maharaj, sorry to interrupt you. There are a few devotees have just joined, so should we just let them know what we're doing?
Go ahead. You explain.
Yeah, as devotees, what we're doing is Guru Maharaj is giving us a statement from a statement to us, and we're finding out from which pastime or which Leela or which character of the Ram Leela that statement applies to. So it's an interactive, more of an interactive session than Guru Maharaj giving class. So it'll be nice. Guru Maharaj is going to give. We have just had 2 statements, and Guru Maharaj is going to go on the third one. Assume.
So it could also be if we don't find a particular part of the Leela or person, we can also try to explain the statement from an expanded definition. Okay.
I have one more example for the previous one, Guru Maharaj.
Which one about Mantara? One cannot appreciate the beauty of things when one's lower nature prevails, that one?
No, real vision is the property of the heart, not of the eyes.
Okay.
It's when Bharat comes with a big army and Lakshman, who has climbed up a tree, he says, oh, he's come here to fight. He's come here to, I'm going to do battle with him. I'll finish him off and this and that. And Lord Ram said, no. Bharat is not come with that intention. Just let's be patient and wait. Like that, he clarified that Bharat is coming with a pure intent.
Good. Okay. Yeah, well, each of the examples we use is an example of Ram's pure vision. Is there any other examples of this without Sri Ram?
I was thinking of the bird of, I forgot the name, Jambavan, who has saved Mother Sita, who tried to save Mother Sita from Ravan, and who gave up his life. So you can see that the bird can be, ugly from, bodily look. However, his heart was, pure, and he wanted to serve Jatayu. Yes, thank you, Shridevi Mataji. Jatayu. Yes. So the real beauty was in his heart, and that he wanted to serve lordships and Lord and save Mother Sita. And then looking at his body, which was a bird body, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's about sacrifice. Yeah. Okay, here you go. This is somewhat connected to the previous statement. Eyes expose the emotional state and are windows of the mind. That's just a statement. Anyone want to comment on that? Eyes expose the emotional state and are windows of the mind. Well, it's more or less related to the previous statement. Okay. So we'll go on to the next one. Questioning superiors gives correct understanding when coupled with a submissive attitude. Questioning superiors gives correct understanding only when it's connected to a submissive attitude. So any examples of that? Little more difficult one.
So I think Guru Maharaj, is this something maybe I'm just guessing that it can be connected to Bharat Maharaj when he went to Lord Ram and he was saying that you should come back to Ayodhya. So he was basically questioning superiors that you shouldn't leave Ayodhya and you should come back.
Nice example. Yeah, he did it in a submissive way.
Yes.
Okay, we got Rishabh has a response to that one.
Krishna Maharaj. I was thinking, like, when you said this, maybe something with Ram and Vashishta Muni, because he was teaching Ram. So, but I cannot kind of pinpoint, but I kind of feel that in this Leela, there should be something like that.
Vashishta Muni, what is the example?
Which Muni did take Ram for to sacrifice, to protect the sacrifice? Which Muni?
That was Vishwamitra Muni.
Vishwamitra, and he was teaching him many arts. I think that Also, when Ram had to go to Swambaram, he had to lift the bow, but he first asked for permission of his spiritual master, and then he came to the bow, and then again he asked for permission. So kind of reminds me of this submissiveness and questioning of spiritual master, not kind of going our own whims.
Yeah, that is correct in principle, but here, by questioning, you get a correct understanding. So where do we find an understanding becomes correct through the process of questioning? Or is there an example of that?
Sridevi Mataji, you want to?
When Dasharath was thinking, how will I perform a nice sacrifice in order to beget progeny, he consulted with all his ministers in a very submissive, humble attitude, saying, this is what I desire, this is what I want. Is this the right approach? Do I have your blessings? And then when all the ministers and sages and Vashishta Muni and everyone agreed, then he went ahead with the ceremony.
Yeah, can you say that the ministers were superiors? 'Cause it says questioning superiors give correct understanding. Superiors in the role they were playing, but not in position.
Okay.
Anyone else want to take a stab at that one?
Hare Krishna devotees, it'll be really nice to interact. Yes, Prema Kishori Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. August to Prabhupada, August to your glorious feet. Can you hear me because I'm driving? Am I audible, Mataji?
Yes, we can hear you, Prema Kishori Mataji.
Okay. Guru Maharaj, I don't know if this is the right answer, but this pastime comes to my mind that when Hanuman went to Lanka with an intention to set fire, I remember reading it was early in the morning and he was roaming around and looking for Mother Sita. And then he heard the sound like Ram, like he heard the vibration of Ram, and then he was attracted to that vibration and ended up in the Bhajan Kutir of Vibhishan. But he was doubtful that how can a demon be a devotee of Lord Ram? So so he was like little vigilant that should he go and attack, because it could be an illusory energy that is causing him to hear or to act like that, or is it real? So he went and he inspected the area and he saw Vibhishan, Vibhishan early in the morning offering oblations and looking very pious and pure, and his house was decorated with the holy name of Lord Ram. So he clarified with him that who are you? And then they had a discussion that how they both are devoted to Lord Ram.
Yeah,
I don't know if this is the correct.
That's a very good example. Hanuman wasn't sure, but he didn't, because of his unsurety, he didn't become certain right away. He simply asked, and in this case, he asked Vibhishan, who was in the position to give him the answer. Yeah, that's a very Gupta Leela, but it actually fits into this statement here. Yeah, that's a good example.
Thank you.
This particular point is very important in a general sense, is that when we maybe receive an order or we have an understanding of something, before we act, we may question our own conclusions based on our own assumptions or understanding to get further understanding. And it has to be done in a submissive way and not in a way of challenging or in the way of, well, this is the way it is. And I need confirmation to what I what I feel is right. That's contrary to the relationship, and it really connects. It's pretty much between guru and disciple relationship. Okay, next one. An accident can put you in an unexpected situation. What you do then will determine the outcome. So now some situation has come up by accident and maybe unexpected. We use the word unexpected as a kind of, or maybe dangerous situation or confusing situation. What you do then will determine the outcome. So this is more like a statement. It doesn't require much discussion on the statement itself, because it gives you a principle of how one should see a situation, and the outcome will to determine how you respond to this situation. Any examples of that? Something unexpected came up, and the outcome came quite differently.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Namrata Mataji, yes, go ahead.
Guru Maharaj, I can recollect one incident of Ramayana where Shravan Kumar, he was fetching water for his blind parents, and by accident, Dashrath Maharaj killed him, and the results were very dangerous, where the parents of Shravan Kumar cursed Dashrath Raja, Dashrath King, and he had to face the separation from Ram.
Yeah, that really illustrates this point really clearly. An accident, obviously it was an accident, and the situation was not very good or beneficial. How the boy also, how he reacted too, and how the parents reacted to the loss of their son. Good. That's a nice explanation. I was just thinking of Sita Devi when all of a sudden there was Hanuman, and she was unsure of who he was and what was in. It was very unexpected. But of course, Hanuman clarified his identity, and she was willing to ask questions and get answers before she actually came to the conclusion of what was happening. So she acted properly, although she was in a situation of being, she was normally responding to something that was negative. Now something positive came, so it was unexpected. Okay, learn to celebrate others' success.
So there was, sorry, Guru Maharaj, to interrupt you. And Vrindavan Nath Prabhu and Sridevi Mataji had their hands up. Should we just put the points?
Yeah.
Nath Prabhu, you wanted to say something? Vrindavan Nath.
Thanks, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Guru Maharaj, I was thinking this when Mother Sita was being kidnapped by Ravan, and also when she saw that golden deer Marichi, and she sent Lakshman. So that was kind of an accident, and then it was like she did not follow what Lord Lakshman mentioned, that don't cross this line. So I thought that can be accident, and then that was the learning, that don't, like, if somebody asking something, and try to listen and then follow that.
You can take that pastime even a little further. And when she was captured, she dropped her, what was it? She dropped some clothing or some, no,
Or jewelry.
jewelry, yeah. And I think that was found by the monkeys, right?
Yes, Maharaj.
Yeah, so she wanted to make a little indication that, this is the direction being taken in. So she kind of gave a little hint. Yes, Sri Devi.
I was thinking when Hanuman was bound up by the ropes of Indrajit, he was actually, that was a little unexpected, and he could have released himself, but he pretended that the ropes are binding him because he knew that it's not going to last very long, because he wanted to see Ravan's court, he wanted to see the rest of Lanka. So he used that opportunity to, sort of get an idea of what Lanka is really like by allowing himself to be caught by those mystic ropes.
I think that's a really good example. And it was positive. He got a chance to be in the presence of Ravana. And then that led him to, again, he was tied up and then they set his tail on fire. But he took that tail of being on fire as an opportunity to destroy a good part of Lanka rather than try to put out the fire. He turned it around, yeah. Good, okay. Here's another next one. Learn to celebrate others' success and develop concrete relationships rather than a concrete jungle. Learn to celebrate others' success and develop concrete relationships rather than a concrete jungle. So what does that statement mean? If you can find an example, that would be ideal, but if not, what does the statement mean? Learn to celebrate others' success and develop concrete relationship rather than a concrete jungle.
Rishabh Prabhu, you have your hands up.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj. I kind of like reminds me of when Sugriva got his kingdom back, so that Ram was really happy for them for coming back, and he made even the friendship even stronger in this regard. So he was not envious, or he was not, in this regard. Could this be an example?
When Sugriva regained his kingdom after Ram killed Vali, so who was celebrating his success?
Ram and Lakshman as well.
Okay, well, they helped to make it happen. It's kind of tenuous, but it can be connected there. Okay. But basically, it says that when others are successful, rather than being envious or unhappy by that, celebrate their success. And that way the relationships will be good. And then otherwise, if we don't, the concrete jungle means something that is opposite to each other. A jungle is not concrete, and concrete cannot be turned into a jungle. So it means that something what is upside down. Okay, that's pretty good. Here's one. Fire burns lumber, sacrifice burns slumber. Fire burns lumber, sacrifice burns.
Sorry, Guru Maharaj. Yeah.
Okay. Fire burns no, not longer, lumber, Lumber.
Oh, sorry, Guru Maharaj.
Fire burns lumber, sacrifice burns slumber. What does that mean? And you can also give an example, maybe from the Ramayana. Once you know what it means, you can think of the example.
I'm sorry, Guru Maharaj, but it's my English, dictionary, my lumber and slumber. I'm not sure if I know the meanings of these two words.
Well, if you get out of slumber, then you will be able to understand the difference between lumber and longer.
I'm just checking the meaning on.
Okay. All right. So what does that mean?
So lumber means heavy, awkward way, and move in a slow way.
Lumber means wood. The lumberjack, there's a person called lumberjacks. They chop down trees, or they work with wood all the time. Fire burns lumber, sacrifice burns slumber. So fire will burn wood, sacrifice burns sleep.
Yes, lumber means sleep. Yes, and lumber means wood as well, Guru Maharaj. It was down there. Yes, I missed that.
Okay, so what does it mean, that statement? Or just give a definition or a meaning or some explanation.
Yes, Shridevi Mataji, go ahead.
I'm not sure if this is right, but Lakshman sacrificed sleep completely when protecting Ram and Sita in the forest. So his sacrifice of slumber ensured the safety of Ram and Sita throughout their stay in the forest.
That I can't believe that's the most perfect example of this statement. Because the answer is, one who dedicates his life for the welfare of others cannot expect a life of ease. One who dedicates his life for the welfare of others cannot expect a life of ease. Nice example. I think that was really amazing example. Thank you. Anyone else want to see if there's any other example like that? Someone who gave up so much of their personal comforts or ease in life to dedicate themselves for the welfare of others.
As Guru Maharaj Vrindavan Nath Prabhu has said, Bharat sacrifice.
Yeah, Bharat sacrifice. We see that he lived for 14 years. He lived in a place outside of Ayodhya, in a very kind of forestry area, where all it was a little hut that he lived in, a pond that he got water from, and that was it. There was nothing else around. So he could have been on the throne. He could have been in Ayodhya enjoying but he acted for the welfare of everyone by taking the position of allowing Ram to keep the throne although he was not personally there. He made a personal sacrifice that everything he chose to do was on behalf of Ram, to make a point that Ram is the real king.
Guru Maharaj, there are a few more examples given in the chat. So Sukha Hava Mataji is saying Urmila sacrificed the Lakshman's wife, Urmila.
What was her sacrifice?
That she had to live without her husband for 14 years. She didn't go with Ram, Lakshman, and Sita, and she agreed to stay and look after the mothers in Ayodhya. And so it was a big sacrifice for her.
Nice example. Perfect. She undergoes so much difficulty just for the benefit of others.
And Sridevi Mataji and Guru Bhakti Mataji has said about Jatayu, Jatayu's sacrifice of to protect Mother Sita.
Sacrificed his life for the benefit to show his determination to serve the Lord in a practically impossible situation.
And Shabri, would we call that was a sacrifice from Shabri as well? That
She had to stay in the forest when all her spiritual master and all her god brothers and god sisters went back to Godhead. So she readily agreed to do that and live like an ascetic. Yeah. Nice. Well, these are really good examples. Hanuman, he was willing to fly all the way from the southern part of India all the way to the northern part to get a mountain, or to get an herb that was on a particular mountain. So he's glorified for that great feat of taking all this, so much trouble to serve Lakshman. Good. Okay. So this is connected to the previous one. Real sacrifice is an internal affair. So that one you may do a comparative study between what is sacrifice and how sacrifice looks from different angles of vision, and how real sacrifice is an internal affair as opposed to something external. That's a principle. You may find examples of that, but it's a principle. So how would we explain that? Real sacrifice is an internal affair.
Sridevi Mataji, yes. Okay.
When Ram was told that he has to leave for the forest immediately, without further ado, he immediately agreed and made that sacrifice to follow his father's command without any further, show or fanfare or delay. Immediately he took up that order and he left for the forest. So that could be an example of sacrifice.
Yeah, is that external or internal or both?
It was internal, but because he was a prince regent, everyone came to know of it. It was very prominently known that he's going to the forest. So then everybody came to see him off. So it became both internal and external. Yeah, but Ram's mood was completely that of renunciation.
Not so much renunciation, but obedience.
To his father's word, yes.
Yeah, that's closer to the motivation that was used here.
Thank you, Mataji. Prem Kishori Mataji.
Guru Maharaj, talking in lines with what Sridevi Mataji said, I was thinking about the same pastime, but I was thinking about Mother Sita. Not so much about Lord Ram, but to answer your question, that she was not asked to go, and she didn't have to go, but she chose to go with her husband because of her internal sacrifice to her husband, who's the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Yeah, that's a real internal sacrifice, because she gave up all her personal comforts. She gave up her whole idea of, now I could be here with all my friends and everything and enjoy the palace. But the higher principle was she was a chaste wife, and she thought, well, I have dedicated my life to the service of my husband, and now I no longer have my husband. So my dedication to his service is higher than what I would like, what would be convenient to do. She accepted inconvenience based on her dedication. Yeah, nice.
Thank you. Raj Prabhu, yeah.
Hare Krishna. I was examples not from the Ramayana, but I was thinking of the Brahmanas and the Brahmanas' wives. So when the cowherd boys came to collect food from the Brahmanas, and they were in the middle of their fire sacrifice, but the fire sacrifice had no value because they were shunning the requests of the cowherd boys away. Yet the Brahmanas' wives immediately got everything ready, all nice food preparations ready, and took it with them to serve Krishna.
Yeah. What's an aspect of that sacrifice that is really glorious? Or we might say hard to perform. What was hard to perform about the ladies?
They knew that the wives knew that their husbands would be extremely unhappy with them for giving away these preparations, their time and these preparations to the cowherd boys.
Yeah, they
So
would.
they against them, yeah.
They risked the idea that their husbands would be either chastising them or finding some kind of fault in whatever they did. Yeah, it's good. That's nice. That was the main point, you know. They went against their husbands, which was, and they chose Krishna over their husbands. Think about that one. Good, that's good. All right, here's
Guru Maharaj.
another. Yeah.
Sorry, Guru Maharaj, there is 2-3 more examples given in the chat. Is it okay if I read it?
Yeah, please.
So Namrata has said Urmila, who could have gone with Lakshman but chose to stay back in Ayodhya to look after mother as asked by Lakshman. And then other Mataji has said Urmila did internal sacrifice by letting Lakshman go with Ram, and then external sacrifice by sleeping in daytime on behalf of Lakshman for 14 years.
Well, all centered around Urmila, right?
Urmila. And then there is one from Guru Bhakti Mataji. Hare Krishna, I would like to suggest Mother Kaushalya sacrifice.
Who?
Sacrifice to her, Kaushalya, Mother Kaushalya.
Yeah.
Sacrifice to her son, not only to see her son to give up the throne, also to see her dear son Lakshman, her dear children Lakshman, Ram and Sita to go into the forest for 14 years.
Yeah, the real sacrifice is an internal affair. These are examples.
And then Narsingh Leela Mataji has said, Hanuman, when Surasa tried to stop him. I'm not sure.
Yeah. In other words, people can sacrifice something externally, but that's not really a sacrifice. Like one could give some money, or one can, do something that's convenient that fits into one's facilities or abilities. Well, when it comes to something that is difficult to do based on one's situation or one's attachment to it, that's an internal affair. Okay, anything else?
Nothing
We'll go on
that,
to the next. We'll go on to the next one. Okay, here's one. This relates to a particular statement by Srila Prabhupada. Elevation of one's current level of responsibility occurs by the thrust of increased commitment. elevation of one's current level of responsibility. You think about current level of responsibility, and that level of responsibility is increased by commitment. I'll just say something. One who fails to take on responsibility doesn't grow in Krishna consciousness.
Doesn't progress, or
Yeah, one who fails to take responsibility in Krishna consciousness, or even in life itself, doesn't grow. And responsibility means for the benefit of others, or for the benefit of a principle, such as taking on, one who fails to take on responsibility in Krishna consciousness doesn't grow in spiritual life. They remain in a neophyte, in a low position. Because they relegated their responsibility to their own personal interests. And therefore, they're more selfish and self-centered rather than taking responsibility for the growth of values, principles, for the growth of the society, for the growth of for the benefit of others. I'm answering that. Yeah, anyone want to add to that? I decided to answer that one.
So Guru Bhakti Mataji has replied, Guru Maharaj, she's saying Hare Krishna Ravan. She's given the example of Ravan.
Ravan, he took responsibility. He grew in his power. Yeah, power became greater and greater. But that kind of responsibility, well, what kind of sacrifice did Ravan make? Did he make any sacrifice? But it was all centered around himself. Yeah. So that's not real sacrifice. That's just motivation by selfish interest. That's all.
So I was thinking of example of Kumbhakaran Guru Maharaj, and that he slept for 6 months. He didn't do much. He just ate and slept. So he couldn't grow, as in he was a demon anyway. So
he was totally useless. Yeah. And when he tried to be useful, he couldn't do anything anyway. When he tried to fight on behalf of his brother, he was immediately defeated. Too much eating and sleeping destroys one's Krishna consciousness.
Namrata Mataji, you have your hands up.
Hare Krishna. Guru Maharaj, when Hanuman realized his powers and he was trying to cross the ocean, the first hurdle was the Mainak Parvat, Mainak mountain. So with the Mainak Parvat offered some rest and some luxuries to Hanuman, but he was so committed to his responsibility that he didn't took it and moved ahead and went to find Mother Sita.
He stayed with it. Yeah, he stayed fixed on his responsibility.
Yeah.
And that increased his responsibility also. Or he increased his commitment to perform the service that he had to do. Yeah, good. In Krishna consciousness, it works that the more you take on responsibility, the more you're giving opportunities for spiritual growth. There's devotees who don't like to do anything. They just want to chant Hare Krishna, read some books, and go to the lectures and go home. They don't make much they stay on a very low level of Krishna consciousness. But those who take on the responsibilities to serve, serving the temple, serving the devotees, they make advancement. You know, okay. Okay, now connected to the idea of commitment.
Guru Maharaj, can I say?
Oh yeah, please. Yeah, go ahead.
First I would like to give example and then I would like to give reference to your context if it's okay. So Vibhishan was the younger brother of Ravan. So if he had not taken up his constitutional responsibility, then he could have just said, and I don't think it would have been morally wrong that I'm not just going to go to Ram and tell him how to kill my brother. But he did do that. So he took up the responsibility of being a servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Yeah, but before he did that, he tried to dissuade his brother from acting in the wrong way, and he gave him a lot of advice. So he put himself in a very marginalized situation where he was seen to be something opposite. We have the example of Vidura, when Vidura was always trying to advise Dhritarashtra, and Dhritarashtra couldn't accept what Vidura was saying. And at the same time, we see Ravana could not accept but both were well-wishers. Both were well-wishers. And that increased their commitment in their devotional life. Vidura went on to get the association of Maitreya, and Vibhishan went on to get the association and service of Ram.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. So in 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna asked Krishna, what is renunciation and what is the purpose of renunciation and what is renounced order of life? I remember reading when Krishna explains that different kind of different modes of nature will determine whether one will do the duty or not. So person in the mode of passion is aware what is to be done and what is not to be done, but will not do it because of the fear of troubles. That makes me think of that.
We do it or not do it because of fear of what?
Troubles, difficulties that it entails.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it means. When you take up spiritual life, you can't expect a life of ease. There will be difficulties, there will be reverses. Anyone who tries for easy life gets no life. Only those who are willing to make sacrifice, they will grow. Both, this is true both materially and spiritually. Okay, good. Here you go. Now we spoke about commitment. Now here's the word commitment. Commitment is sustained by integrity. Integrity is powered by progress. Commitment is sustained by integrity. Integrity is powered, gets energy, gets force by progress. Does that make sense? The first part we can understand. Commitment is sustained by integrity. But how is integrity powered by progress? And if you could think of examples, that would even be ideal. Some of these may apply just in a general sense.
I was thinking of Guru Maharaj that, the monkeys in Lord Ram's army, that, they were all together, they were committed to Lord Ram to make the bridge between Lanka and this side, and to make the bridge basically to cross past, and is powered by progress. So I was thinking, as they were, the stones were floating in the water, they were progressing it. So that progress was, powering it up to do more and more for Lord Ram. And then after they fought in the battlefield as well, they fought with Ravan's army as well.
Nice example, really good. Together, they had made a commitment, and it was based on serving a higher principle. And then based on that service, the progress increased their commitment to that principle. Nice point, really good. That's a nice example. Anyone else want to just comment on that or say something in relationship to the Leela? Commitment is sustained by integrity. That means if without integrity, your commitment in life cannot be sustained. What does integrity mean? Living according to certain values, right? Principles. And then that integrity, those values and principles are given fuel by the progress you make.
Yes, Shridevi Mataji.
I actually have a question about this statement, Guru Maharaj. Isn't integrity something that one is supposed to retain even when one is not making progress?
Yeah, that's why it says it's sustained by commitment. It's the commitment that sustains the integrity. And when that commitment brings progress, then integrity is fortified or supported even more.
Okay.
You have this commitment, and therefore you have a particular commitment, but how do you keep that commitment is by, even if there's something that's going against the commitment, then you develop this fixation to make that commitment work. And when you do that, and it starts to develop, then the values and the attitudes and the application you put into making that work becomes greater. In other words, the more you win, the more you win. Okay.
So Guru Maharaj, Sukhava has messaged in the chat is Sita Mata stays chastised to Lord Ram.
Who did?
Yes, Sita Mata.
What'd she do?
She stays chaste to to Lord Ram. So she was committed to Lord Ram, basically. That's what I guess.
That nice example, very nice example. And because of that, the integrity that she used to develop that commitment became even stronger and stronger in the face of death. Nice point, really good, thank you. One's external abilities are only valuable when empowered by right consciousness. One's external abilities are only valuable when the consciousness is right.
Yes, Shridevi Mataji.
I was thinking of the example of Vali. He was extremely powerful and he was capable of great feats. But because his consciousness was not right, in the end he lost.
Yeah, that's a
And
nice.
same for Ravan.
Same for Robin. I was thinking of Robin in that case. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, Prem Kishori Mataji. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm driving. So, yes, Gurvaj. So, I was also thinking about the comparison of Ravan and Hanuman. So, Hanuman, externally, he went to Lanka and set fire to the whole kingdom, which is one of, basically it comes under the category of one of the 6 intruders that could morally be punished, but he's celebrated for his ability to set fire because his consciousness was on the right place. But Ravan had so much of an ability, but it was all based out because his consciousness was not right. Am I not
Yeah.
audible?
Yeah, he did good to others for his own benefit. He would be charitable. He would help others because he saw something in it for him. Another example is Duryodhana. Duryodhana was very good at doing, he did it to Karna. He offered so many benedictions and gave Karna some position when he had nothing. He did that the same to Bhishma Dev. He tried it with Krishna, but it didn't work. In other words, from the external point of view, he looked quite good, but internally it was all motivated by personal interest. Right.
And Namrata is also messaged about Indrajit Guru Maharaj.
Okay, Indrajit, yeah.
And Namrata, would you like to unmute yourself?
So, Guru Maharaj, Indrajit was also one of the powerful warriors, but he used his powers to, against Ram and in favor of Ravan, which is an example of bad consciousness.
Yeah, he had received a benediction from Indra because he had defeated Indrajit. He was given that name. Yeah, his power was misdirected. When you're small and you do something wrong, or you're motivated by wrong activities, it's almost commonplace and it's not so noticeable. But when you're powerful and you use your power for a selfish or self-interested way, or to exploit others, it causes havoc to yourself and to others. Okay. This one is just a statement. Being at one's feet denotes humility. Screaming at them denotes horniness. That's just a statement. Being at one's feet denotes humility. Screaming at them denotes haughtiness or proudness. I'll go on to the next one. When intention of action is confused or censored differently, it results in conflict or confused action. When the intention of action is confused, in other words, one acts without clear intention, or it's centered away from the activity itself, it results in conflict or confused action. Example would be service to God is the goal. How to serve may differ. Still, there is no conflict. So in other words, it's the focus that makes the activity clear and beneficial. And when that's not there, the action is confused or is focused in the wrong way. In other words, if you focus on yourself instead of focusing on the benefit of others or for Krishna, the result is conflict or confused action. Reciprocation of love, when demanded, is an obsession. When you demand the reciprocation of love from another, it's an obsession. When commanded, it becomes natural. Okay? You want to comment on that? When we demand someone to reciprocate our love, it's an obsession. And when we command it, when it's done without demanding, when it's done simply by our character and our activities, it's natural. It's quite easy to understand. Any statements? You can
Hare
also
Krishna,
think,
Guru Maharaj.
yeah, you can also think of something in the Ramayana for that one.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to your lotus feet. Okay, I'm not sure, but can it be Suparnaka and Sita Mata? The Suparnaka was demanding it, and Sita Mata just got it because of her devotional service to Lord Ram.
Yeah. And she demanded it. She was a good example, really nice. She, she wanted to enter into a relationship with mostly with Ram, but she demanded it. So you can say it's a bad quality, although she was willing to give herself in that relationship. But it was demanded. In other words, it was forced or attempted to be forced. But when that same giving of oneself is done by one's activities, then it's actually successful or natural. That we can relate to when we have relationships with others. Well, I'm doing this, and therefore you should also respond according to how I think you respond. I was just thinking, I know a personal example of that. One is not appreciating the other person and simply demanding their own form of reciprocation, whether it's love or something else. And that becomes selfishness. And when it's done simply by one's qualities and characteristics, then when it's not done, it's a sense of insecurity. Which is described as an obsession. Because insecurity can become an obsession as it takes its form in different ways. Anyone want to say anything yet? Some of these are just general statements. They apply to the storyline, and they also apply to different individuals, but also within the storyline, these principles are being played out by different characters.
So Anjali Mataji has said Ravan in drama.
Mm-hmm. Ravana and Ram?
Yes, that's right, Guru.
So what's the understanding?
Anjali Mataji, do you want to unmute yourself? Explain.
Who's speaking?
Anjali.
Oh, Anjali, okay.
Oh, she's saying I can't get off mute. Okay.
Ravana, Ravana demanded Sita's love, yeah. Became an obsession, yeah. He didn't try to attract her by normal ways or by his own qualities. He kept telling her how great he was. But that's an obsession. That's an expression of false ego.
Prem Kishori Mataji, you have your hands up.
Thank you, Mataji. Guru Maharaj, I don't want to commit an offense, so please protect me. But externally, it appears that Mother Kekai was demanding from Dashrath Maharaj for the deeds that she did to protect him at the time of need. But Mother Sita went through so much of turmoil and so much of suffering, but she never demanded Lord Ram that because of you I was kidnapped. She never did that. So she was able to earn the command, but I don't know if I'm committing an offense, so I'm sorry.
You don't know how to what?
I don't know if it is just an external, because everything has an external and an internal meaning. So I don't know if my understanding of Mother KK is 100% correct, or it's half correct, or completely incorrect.
Mm-hmm. It can apply. But Kaikeyi already was favored by Dasarat. She used her favoritism to turn the whole thing around, to make him act in such a way. So the commitment that he had towards her and the affection he had for her, she used it in a way to harm rather than to benefit. So it's not, she demanded it by using the example that you have promised, and you're not fulfilling your promise. So it was a demand rather than a command. And then there wasn't, she could have said, well, this is what I think is right. And then she could have used her feminine charm and her position in relationship to Dasarat to change his mind from that point of view. But she did it by saying, you promised, and now you're breaking your promise. It was forced. When you force someone to do something, you don't really get their confidence, even though they may agree. It's like if you force children to obey, or if you force your disciple to follow, they may do it, but only when it comes natural, is that actually it strengthens the relationship, it builds the relationship. Here's one. When children show favoritism, when they show favoritism, it's called innocence. When adults show favoritism, it's called guile. What does the word guile mean? I'm not exactly sure, but I know it's not a pleasant meaning. Anybody know what guile means? It means cunning. Okay, there you go. Thank you. Children show favoritism. It's just a kind of innocence that comes with that childlike nature. And when adults show favoritism, it's done in a planning way. There's some reason behind it. Okay, that's just a statement. How we doing on time? We're almost at the half hour here. Here's one. This is a tough one. I just want to comment. When magnitude of love is equated by quantity of facility given, it becomes a transaction. When magnitude of love is equated by quantity of facility given, it becomes a transaction. One minute, I'm getting buzzed here from outside. Hello, who's there? Hare Krishna? Who's there? Who's there? Who's calling? And
Guru Maharaj, you might have to unmute yourself.
when magnitude of love is equated by quantity of facility given, it becomes a transaction. Serving becomes investment and denial becomes a breach. Very interesting statement. When magnitude of love is equated, in other words, connected by what kind of facility I'm given. In other words, my love is based on the facility. It's more like a transaction. And then serving in that becomes an investment, something for about. And if you don't follow through, then you break the contract. That's called denial or a breach. Any statement about that? I'm willing to give my love only when this situation is there. Otherwise, no. And according to how the facility is there, then and then serving in that capacity is my personal investment. And when I don't do that, I'm actually I'm actually seen as breaking the contract.
Namrata Mataji, have your hands up?
Guru Maharaj, I can think of two persons here. I'm not sure if I'm thinking in the right direction, but please guide me. I'm thinking of Kaikai one, who is demanding some boons and benedictions for her love, what so-called love, what she has for Dashrath Maharaj, and which only then she can allow Dashrath Maharaj to enter his room or something like that. And another example,
Yeah, Kaikeyi is an example again. Yeah.
and another example, Maharaj, I could think is Ravan, when he offers all the wealth to Sita for getting married to her, and Sita Mata rejects him for that. he's ready to offer all the facilities of. He's ready to offer all the facilities he has.
And the
So that
opposite is who?
Another example is Ravan, where he offers all the facilities he has to get married to Sita Mata.
Yeah,
But
it's more like an investment.
yes, but Sita Mata rejects it.
Yeah. Good. That's pretty good. In other words, love should not be offered according to the facility given, but should be given freely according to the relationship. And when it's not, when facility becomes the focus, it's more like a deal. In other words, I'm giving something and you have to give something back. So, and then if it's accepted, then it's an investment. And if I don't do it, then I'm breaking the contract.
Good, Maharaj.
I'm just
In this
explaining
one,
the state. Yeah, you can
yeah,
think of characters within the Ramayana that fit like that. Ravana
so
is a perfect example of that. Yeah.
Guru Maharaj, actually, if we say Kai is a front part of the statement, then Bharat is the other part of the statement, who thought that ruling the kingdom in place of Ram was breaching the contract. Like, he was not ready to do that. He wanted to serve Lord Ram.
Yeah, he never could. Well, he was willing to go into the forest and take Ram's place, and Ram could come back, but there was another principle that could not be changed, and that was Ram's commitment to his father. And so, although he tried, there was no facility given; it was just natural. But Ram was not willing to accept that because he had a higher principle he was living by, and that was obedience to his father. So it seems like Bart was very eclectic, or you may very resilient. He found out ways of showing his love in another way when Ram was not going to come back and take the throne, so he did it by his own personal sacrifice. So Bart is glorious, actually, for his selflessness and his allegiance to his brother. I'll do something for you only if I can get something out of it. Okay, you agree? And then I can't come through, then I'm seen as someone who lied or cheated or is insincere. Okay, so we are an hour and a half into the program, and I have to depart because there is an upcoming program later on this afternoon. So thank you very much. I thought this would be just a good way, and I was amazed to see how all of you know the Ramayana quite well. I was thinking, wow, I should be listening, and you guys should be speaking. I was thinking, I was listening today and getting a lot of insights on the Ramayana that weren't completely aware of. Thank you. That was good. It shows that that you're really attentive to the classes and you're actually thinking in relationship to these leelas. Okay.
Anusuya Mataji has actually requested if we can do the same exercise for Mahabharata too. And I was thinking about the Chaitanya Charitamrita, so it'd be really nice to.
Yeah, make a note of that, and maybe we can do it in the future. Okay, I do have to depart now. Tomorrow, I won't be available for class. And on Friday, I'm going to be in a different time zone. So what is the actual time for me is 1 hour later. So that's on Friday. Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, I won't be able to do class at all. I don't think. I'm not sure yet. Where I'm going is a festival, and I'm not sure how my services are arranged according to time. So anyway, well, but Friday is with Charlotte, and we have the verses. And tomorrow will be, I think, Srimati can arrange.
Guru Maharaj, please
someone.
accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Shri Prabhupada. Yes, Guru Maharaj, tomorrow Her Grace Radha Vinodini Mataji will give class.
Good, very nice. All right, good.
And for the weekend,
good.
I'll arrange another speakers.
Yeah, it's important we keep these daily sessions going.
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
Sadhu Sangha and discussion on philosophical and spiritual topics is the foundation by which we learn and grow in Krishna consciousness.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Krishna, Jai Ho. My obeisances to everyone.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for a lovely class. And the question and answer session was so brilliant.